8 sinister paranormal footages exposed, spine-chilling encounters that will haunt your dreams. Mia collapsed onto the worn-out couch, her body a feeble mass of bone and fatigue. The long day of catering to the whims of demanding customers had drained her. A single mother in a quiet suburban neighborhood, she rarely found herself alone. Even in the stillness of night, the weight of her 2 children, Jake and Lily, lingered with her. With the flick of a switch, the dull glow of her laptop illuminated the dimly lit living room, where shadows danced across the walls like lurking phantoms. She stumbled upon a local community forum, and the title caught her breath. Each frightening video seemed to pulse with a sinister energy. Watch if you dare. Eerie figures lurking outside homes, disembodied whispers. A shiver crawled up her spine as she clicked the first link. A grainy image revealed a distorted silhouette, elongated limbs standing motionless beneath the gnarled branches of a tree. Goosebumps erupted on her skin. Voices whispered in the background, beckoning, pleading. Was that a child's giggle? In quick succession, she watched more clips. Her heart pounded wildly with each frame that passed, a relentless drum clashing with her mounting dread. As she witnessed the shadowy figure slipping out of sight, the innocent facade of her idyllic neighborhood seemed to decay before her eyes. Neighbors exchanged nervous glances, smiles stretching just a little too wide, too unsettling for comfort. Was she losing her mind? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Muffled whispers filled her home, creeping into every crevice like shadows expanding in the night. Reports of children vanishing floated to her ears, but the worst part was how they returned, with hollow eyes and lips sewn shut, as if stitched into the world of nightmares. Mia's skin prickled, fear tightened its grip around her heart. She tried to shake off paranoia, brushing it aside like a pest, but it clawed back. That evening, she heard it, the unmistakable sound of Jake's voice drifting through the window. "Mom, come here." Every word dripped with longing, seeping into her veins like poison. Panic surged as she leapt to her feet and rushed outside. The moonlit yard felt foreign, shadows dancing between the trees like twisted marionettes. Where was Jake? "Jake!" Mia shouted, her voice laced with terror. A gust of chilling wind swept around her, carrying with it an unexplained sense of dread. She turned and saw a symbol etched into the grass. A crude mark echoed what she'd seen in the videos. A shudder coursed through her body just as she caught sight of a dark figure darting between houses. Jake was gone, and the very ground below trembled beneath the weight of secrets waiting to be unveiled. With urgency, she rushed to her neighbors, the false comfort of their geniality turning sour in her gut. "Something is wrong," she urged, but every worry fell into a void of laughter and cruel dismissal. Beneath their cold smiles lay a truth she was desperate to uncover, a pact quietly hidden. The air around her thickened, a suffocating haze telling her she was only beginning to grasp the monstrous depths of her reality. Mia breathed heavily as shadows grew heavier, whispers morphing into a chanting echo that snaked around her, threatening to pull her under. Who or what stood guard over her neighborhood, armed with gruesome demands? As the darkness closed in, her resolve hardened. She would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. With her heart racing and dread consuming, she stood at the precipice of horror, grasping for answers in the night. Who among these neighbors, her friends, was the very monster waiting to ensnare her family? The air grew thick with tension as shadows twisted and writhed around Mia. The chilling whispers clawed at her sanity, tugging at the edges of her resolve. Heart pounding, she stumbles backward, her pulse echoing louder in her ears. How could her quiet neighborhood hide such dark secrets? Just then, a low, haunting wail pierced the silence, echoing through the stillness like a warning bell. Mia's gut tightened. "Jake!" she screamed again, but only silence answered, heavy and oppressive. Her feet moved on their own, propelled by instinct. She darted between houses, guided only by the frantic thumping in her chest. Without thinking, she flashed her phone's flashlight, the beam slicing through the darkness to reveal the rustling bushes. Each glance brought fleeting glimpses of movement, something shifting, vanishing as quickly as it appeared. "Please God," she muttered, feeling a cold sweat drip down her back. Littered across the ground were remnants of something unsettling. Broken toys, a discarded shoe, remnants of a life that felt achingly familiar, yet terrifyingly alien. Then she stopped. Something flickered at the edge of her vision, just beyond the fence separating her yard from the neighbors. A shadow, darker than the night itself, slithered against the pale moonlight. Its shape shifted, losing definition like smoke. She felt drawn to it, an unseen force tugging at her very essence. But instinct kicked in, refusing to let her cross that boundary. "Jake!" A thread of desperation lingered in her voice, but no answer came. She turned around, the oppressive air weighing down on her. Something moved behind her, a rush of cold that sent tremors through her bones. Whirling around, she found herself standing at a figure shrouded in darkness. "Why are you here?" it rasped, the voice strangely familiar yet grotesque. It was a blend of every neighbor, every face she thought she knew, twisted into a nightmare. "You are not supposed to know." Mia's breath caught in her throat. "I'm looking for my son. Where is Jake?" The question ricocheted off the walls of her mind, her desperate plea falling flat in the face of something sinister. "Compliance is key. There are laws that bind us," it whispered, inching closer, its features contorting in the dim light. Each word dripped with malice, vibrations sinking into her skin. Fear skyrocketed. "What do you mean? What laws?" Its expression shifted, a fleeting flicker of amusement mingled with something darker. "You will learn if you survive the night." And just like that, the figure vanished into the shadows, leaving behind a lingering sense of foreboding. Mia stumbled back, her heart racing. She sprinted to her house, lungs burning, thoughts racing. The front door creaked ominously, and she hesitated before stepping inside. Every instinct screamed for her to get help, to call the police, but who would believe her? What could she say? That her neighbors were monsters? She shut the door behind her, breathing heavily, utterly alone. The whispers crept back, rising from the corners of her home, a cacophony of lies and indignation. The rest of the world felt miles away, drowned out by the suffocating fear that engulfed her. Suddenly, a chilling sound echoed from upstairs. A soft, broken laughter that sent chills slithering down her spine. "Lily?" she called, her voice faltering as she tiptoed toward the staircase. The laughter continued, eerie and jointed, becoming a taunting refrain. Mia's heart raced as she climbed the stairs, each creak beneath her foot echoing like a haunting melody. What awaited her in her own home? A mind-bending puzzle wrapped in a world distorted by terror. Just as she reached the top, the laughter stopped. Silence enveloped her, heavy and foreboding. Breath caught in her throat, Mia hesitated, mind racing with possibilities. What had she unleashed by diving too deep? And then she heard a small voice, soft and pleading, echoing from behind the closed door to her children's room. "Mommy." But as she reached for the doorknob, something in the darkness shifted, and a new voice whispered, smoother than silk, "Are you ready to join the pact?" The invitation hung in the air, thick and suffocating, leaving her breathless. The choice loomed, and with it the terrifying prospect of betrayal. Was it still possible to save her family, or had she already lost them to the darkness surrounding her? What would she sacrifice to uncover the truth? Mia's heart raced, drumming in her chest like a frantic alarm. The voice, smooth and seductive, wrapped around her mind, pulling her toward the door with an unnatural urgency. She swallowed hard. What did it mean by "join the pact"? "Mommy," the small voice drifted again, a fragile whisper trapped behind the door. It was enough to break the spell, to gather the remnants of her courage. She pressed her palm against the cool wood, fingers trembling against the grain. "Hold on, Lily, I'm coming," she shouted, forcing her voice to carry some semblance of strength. The soft laughter trembled beneath her words, its echo softening to silence. If this was a trick, she had to play her part perfectly. She twisted the knob, praying it would open freely. The door creaked as she pushed it, revealing her children's room steeped in darkness, the nightlight's glow failing to breach the shadows. The bed lay empty, covers tossed aside, as if in haste. Her breath caught. Had they left? Another soft voice, this time deeper, echoed in the room. "We're waiting," it whispered tauntingly. Was it Jake? Her fingers gripped the doorframe, her nails digging into the wood, but she forced herself to step inside, each footfall heavy with dread. The air inside was thick, almost stifling, as though it contained secrets too heavy to bear. Her gaze swept across the space, a forgotten toy in the corner, a drawing on the wall depicting an ominous face with hollow eyes. The sight sent chills skittering down her spine. "Where are you?" she called out, her voice barely a whisper now. The familiar discomfort writhed within her, a sickening blend of fear and maternal instinct. She felt watched, as if eyes were tracking her every move. "Mia!" More laughter, cascading from the closet. The shadows within wiggled, lost in the dark. She wanted to run, to bolt back downstairs, but the instinct to protect her children grounded her in place. Sweat pooled in her palms as she edged closer, breath quickening. The closet door stood slightly ajar, inviting yet foreboding. With a shuddering breath, Mia reached for the knob. Just as she did, the soft voice shifted to a desperate scream. "Mom!" A surge of adrenaline coursed through her. "I'm here! I'm coming!" Yanking open the door, she was met with a wave of darkness so thick it felt tangible. It engulfed her, dragging her into the void. Panic set in as she stumbled back, breath hitching. The laughter erupted around her again, echoing like a swarm, the shadows swirling and spinning. Then she saw them. Figures formed in the darkness, pale and shifting, faces she recognized, yet twisted. Her neighbors, smirking, their features warped by something sinister. "You've come so far, Mia," they hissed in unison, their voices a chilling harmony. "You've chosen your path." "Get away from my children!" she screamed, stepping backward, but it was no use. The door slammed shut behind her, sealing her fate. I won't betray them," Mia choked out, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. "Not yet," the familiar face of one neighbor sneered, eyes gleaming with malicious delight. "The night has just begun." With no escape, desperation bubbled inside her. She surged forward, ready to fight, but the shadows closed in, creeping closer, wrapping around her like chains. The suffocating darkness quivered, and she felt the weight of an unseen presence pressing against her. "Mia," they echoed, each voice a twisted, "Join us!" A shadow reached for her, fingers brushing against her skin. Cold shock raced through her body, and suddenly, in that moment, she knew her option was slipping away. In a last-ditch effort, Mia lunged toward the window, desperate to break free. But the glass shattered violently, the shards falling like rain. The room distorted, warping around her as she fell through the opening, spiraling into an abyss that seemed to roar with laughter. As she plunged deeper into the unknown, a single thought pierced through her mind. Would she escape the darkness, or was it already too late? And then the laughter faded, leaving behind an echoing whisper that curled around her heart. Welcome. The air was thick with despair as Mia tumbled through the darkness, her body weightless, her heart thrumming like a dying ember. An endless abyss surrounded her, the laughter morphing into a low, haunting hum that vibrated through her bones. She twisted, grasping wildly for something, anything to anchor her. But the darkness swallowed her whole, stretching and pulling in ways that made her stomach churn. Just as she felt she could no longer bear it, the pull ceased. She landed on something solid, the impact knocking the breath from her lungs. Gasping, she managed to sit up, blinking against a hazy light that seeped into her vision. It wasn't the bedroom. It was an empty hallway, peeling wallpaper and flickering lights casting unsettling shadows. "Mia!" A soft voice broke the eerie silence. It was Lily. Relief flooded through her, but it was fleeting. "Where are you?" Mia shouted, her voice strained. "Mommy, help me!" The words melted into despair, reverberating through the air. Mia scrambled to her feet, searching desperately. The hallway felt endless, stretching into the darkness in either direction. Every creak of the old floorboards beneath her feet echoed ominously, amplifying her growing dread. The shadows coiled at the edge of her vision, taunting her as she sprinted down the hall, her heart racing with each step. Door after door passed her by, all closed, all unmoving. She had to find her daughter. "Mia!" The voice drifted again, distant but clear. It was coming from a room at the end of the hallway. The door stood slightly ajar, an oppressive darkness pooling just beyond the threshold. "Lily!" she cried, racing toward the door. With a swift motion, she pushed it open, her pulse thrumming in her ears. Inside was a spacious, dim room, the air thick with an unfathomable weight. At the center stood a table draped in an old stained cloth. Symbols carved into the wood pulsed with an unsettling glow, casting eerie shadows on the walls. And then she saw them. Figures encircling the table, their faces obscured by hoods, moving rhythmically as in a trance. "Join us!" they chanted in soft, chilling unison. "No, no!" Mia's voice trembled as she backed away, terror clawing at her heart. She had fought through the darkness. It wasn't supposed to. To lead her here. She turned, only to find the door slamming shut behind her, sealing her inside with the chanting shadows. "Mommy!" Lily's voice erupted from a corner of the room, her small figure trembling. Mia's heart shattered seeing her daughter in such peril. "Stay away from her!" Mia yelled, launching herself toward Lily. But before she could reach her, the figures turned suddenly, their hoods falling back to reveal the twisted faces of her neighbors. Their eyes glimmered with malice, and their smiles soured her stomach like rotten fruit. "Welcome, Mia!" they sang out in chilling harmony. "You've chosen to join the pact." A sickening sensation grew within her, an echo of cruel laughter spiraling around them. "Join us," they implored, hands reaching for her, not for a hug, but for a capture. Panic surged, and Mia knew she couldn't let them take her. She had to protect Lily. With all the strength she could muster, Mia flung herself at the ritual table, desperate to disrupt their unholy gathering. Light burst from the symbols, blinding her momentarily, spinning into a vortex around her, pulling her in from every side. The chanting morphed into a cacophony of voices, shrieking her name, laughing, mocking, demanding. "Stop!" she cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. Then, from within the chaos, a new voice emerged, an unmistakable, comforting tone, and it cut through the darkness like a knife. "Mia, you have to wake up!" The world fell silent, and with that final push, Mia felt herself being pulled in two directions, caught between light and dark. Just as she thought she'd been torn apart, everything snapped, and she plummeted into cold, hard reality. Mia gasped awake, finding herself back in her own bed. The room was still, the faint glow from the nightlight illuminating the walls. Heart pounding, she shot up, breathless, searching for Lily. But the bed was empty. "Mia," the soft, haunting whisper drifted through the air again, leaving a chill along her spine. She swung her legs over the side of the bed, trying to calm the panic. The house was quiet, but there was a creeping sensation that something wasn't right. "Lily," she called, her voice barely a murmur. The silence hung like a heavy fog. Each second stretched unbearably, her heart racing as the shadows began to flicker at the edges of her consciousness. And then she remembered. The pact. And the thought echoed in her mind like a siren. What have I awakened? As she stepped towards the door, the shadows stirred again, whispering secrets she couldn't ignore. Would she uncover the truth, or should she be afraid of what awaited her on the other side? Mia stepped into the dimly lit hallway, swallowed by shadows that seemed to shift and breathe. The air was thick with dread, clinging to her skin like a veil of ice. Each creak beneath her bare feet echoed through the silence, mocking her urgency. The faint whisper of her daughter's name tangled with the gloom, drawing her forward. "Lily?" Her voice trembled, fighting against the encroaching darkness. The light from the nightlight flickered, casting monstrous shapes against the walls. They danced wildly, twisting into familiar forms that her mind filled with the faces of her neighbors. Those haunting figures surrounding the table. Panic flared anew. Were they truly gone, or was this some sinister trick? "Mommy!" It came again, more desperate this time, laced with pain that pierced her heart. Mia's breath quickened. She had to find her, but the house loomed larger, every shadow a potential trap. Turning toward the hall at the end, she felt the walls pulse like a heartbeat, thrumming with the energy of something alive, something watching. She hurried ahead, a predator closing in on its prey. As she approached the end of the corridor, she spotted a door slightly ajar, darkness pooling just beyond. Another flicker of light revealed a creeping tendril curling toward her. "Please," she whispered, and in that moment, the door creaked open. A shiver coursed through her as she stepped inside. The room was much like the one before, a strange familiarity that threatened to choke her. The same table was there, symbols etched deeper now, their glow intensifying, almost searing her eyes. No, not again. Panic clawed at her throat, the stacked horrors swimming before her. "Mia!" A child's voice broke through, only to morph into shrieks echoing in her mind. The shadows around the table twisted, forming a tight circle, rhythmically swaying, chanting her name in a mocking tone. "Join us," they beckoned, their faces distorting in grotesque grins. "No!" she screamed. "What do you want from me?" But the shadows closed in, shifting shape, the air trembling with their sinister energy. Images flashed before her. Lily playing in the park, laughter echoing in warmth. Fleeting moments tainted by a shadow reaching ever closer. The echoes of her daughter's laughter morphed into sobs. "Mommy, please!" In that instant, her resolve solidified. She would not let them take her child. With a desperate sprint, she lunged for the table, the symbols flaring brightly as she collided with its edge. Pain shot through her, reality warping in blinding bursts. The chanting crescendoed, the figures writhing with fury. Suddenly, the darkness shattered like glass, leaving her gasping once more for air. But this time, she wasn't in the house. She found herself in a familiar place, the park where she used to take Lily. She staggered, confused, the sunlight burning away the shadows, illuminating the stark reality of what was around her. But as she caught her breath, the horrors she'd been through loomed large in her mind. "Lily?" she called, her voice filled with dread. Silence fell heavy around her, only broken by whispers in the wind, taunting her, reminding her of her failures. Then, a shadow flickered in the corner of her vision. She turned sharply, heart hammering. Standing before her was a small figure, silhouetted against the light. "Mama." It was Lily, but as Mia rushed closer, dread filled her veins. The girl turned slowly, her eyes empty, her smile hauntingly twisted. "Mama, I've been waiting." The world around Mia began to pulse and churn again, the park contorting as darkness seeped from the edges. Suddenly, she was falling once more, the ground giving way beneath her feet. "Lily!" she screamed, reaching for the fading figure of her daughter, but the darkness swept her away. In that moment, before everything plunged into nothingness, she realized the chilling truth. What she had thought was an ending was only a beginning. What awaited her in this new nightmare? Would she ever see her daughter again? In the sheer blackness that enveloped Mia, she felt an oppressive weight pressing down on her, as if the very fabric of reality had conspired to suffocate her. The sensation of falling stretched her senses thin, disorienting her. Then, abruptly, she landed with a muted thud on a cold, hard surface. Groaning, Mia pushed herself up, her heart racing. The air was different now, thinner, a stale taste lingering in her mouth. She blanked, trying to acclimate her eyes to the dim light. Her surroundings felt alien, yet eerily familiar. The ground beneath her was rough and uneven, like an unkempt basement. She stumbled to her feet, the chill gnawing at her, and registered shadows flitting in the corners, darting across the walls, resentful creatures of the dark. "Mama?" The voice was there again, faint but unmistakable. The disembodied sound echoed through the stillness like a distant bell, lingering in the corners of her mind. "Lily!" Mia called out, her voice hoarse and raw, straining against the oppressive atmosphere. She turned slowly, scanning the darkness, but the shadows shifted hastily, avoiding her gaze, their dance mocking her desperation. "Mama, hurry!" The voice was more insistent now, edging closer, imbued with urgency and fear. It gripped Mia's heart like a vice, pulling her toward the source. She pressed forward, every step punctuated by an unsettling silence. The feeling of being watched prickled at her skin. A shiver crawled up her spine as she recalled the churning darkness that had swallowed her before, the chilling presence that had drawn her in. Then she saw it, a faint glint, a silver flicker that shaped itself into something disturbingly familiar. It was a mirror, reflecting distorted images of half-formed shadows that flicked in and out of existence, creating a collage of nightmares. Mia approached it, trepidation coursing through her veins. The mirror was framed in wood, age-worn and splintered, adorned with unrecognizable markings. As she peered closer, the reflections morphed. Faces emerged from the glass, contorted with anguish and despair. Each face screamed silently, their mouths wide yet soundless, reaching out to her from their prison. Panic rose in Mia, her breath coming fast and sharp. She wanted to look away, but a morbid curiosity held her captive. And then she saw Lily, standing right behind the mirror, her small figure ghostly, her eyes wide, but sunken. "Mama, please, help me." The words came out in a whisper, a plea drawing Mia in deeper. "Mama, don't leave me. You have to save me." Tears streamed down Mia's cheeks as she pressed her palms against the glass. "Lily, I'm coming. Just hold on." The glass felt cool, an icy barrier dividing them. The urge to shatter it, to reach through and pull her daughter back from the brink, flooded her with resolve. But the shadows shifted violently, swirling around her, a wild tempest of darkness threatening to swallow both mother and child. "Join us." The voices began again, an unbearable chorus rising, suffocating in their torment. "No!" she screamed, a raw cry of defiance. She slammed her fist against the mirror, the impact reverberating through her body. But instead of shattering, it rippled, sending shards of cold energy coursing through her. Chaos erupted as the space around her twisted and warped, the mirror shimmering like a portal caught in the throes of an unseen storm. In an instant, the ground trembled beneath her feet, cracking open like an ancient mouth ready to swallow its prey. Mia's heart pounded in tandem with the convulsing floor. "Mommy!" That fragile voice brought with it an overwhelming surge of determination. She couldn't let fear win. With a deafening roar of her soul, she leaped through the portal that opened within the mirror, the world collapsing behind her. As she entered, everything exploded into blinding light. But as the luminescence clouded her vision, Mia realized she wasn't stepping into salvation. She was tumbling deeper into something far darker, something that didn't just want her to join the void, but demanded her very essence. What lay on the other side? Could she truly save her daughter this time, or would they be trapped in this malevolent cycle forever? The light swallowed her whole, a roaring current dragging Mia down through the depths of a nightmare. Gravity felt distorted, twisting her body in ways that made her stomach churn. She plunged through a tunnel of blazing whites and deep, suffocating blacks, her thoughts racing as she clung to the last image of Lily, her daughter's terrified face pressed against the mirror. Then it stopped. Mia landed hard, rolling onto gritty ground that felt sharp beneath her palms. She pushed herself up, but staggered back, wide-eyed. She was in a vast, dimly lit chamber. The walls pulsed with a sickly green glow, slick and glistening, as if coated in oil. It reeked of decay, a heavy scent that clawed at her throat. "Mama," the voice echoed again, weaker this time. It pierced the heavy air, fragile and distant. Mia bolted toward the sound, heart pounding in her ears. "Lily!" As she moved, shadows shifted at the edge of her vision, always just out of reach, watching her with something dark and hungry. She shivered, feeling every hair on her body stand tall. The chamber stretched endlessly, the ground littered with objects, dolls with hollow eyes, broken toys, remnants from lives long past. They whispered to her, barely audible but insistent, pulling at her memories as if urging her to join their eternal torment. Then, finally, she spotted it, a doorway at the far end, framed in shadow. "Lily!" She sprinted, the air thickening with every step, like running through molasses. As she approached, the doorway flickered, revealing a flickering light beyond, illuminating silhouettes that twisted and moaned, their faces grotesque and fractured. "Mama, please!" The desperation in Lily's voice cut through the din, sending a jolt of energy surging through Mia. She wasn't done yet, not by a long shot. Reaching the doorway, the light surged suddenly, blasting her face with heat. Heart racing, she could see Lily's silhouette, smaller and more fragile than she remembered. Mia ripped through the door, ready to grip her daughter tightly and escape this hellish place. But instead of a warm embrace, she was met with a chilling emptiness. She stepped into an endless void, a landscape of swirling shadows and flashing lights, a vast expanse of despair where nothing felt real. "Mama," the voice echoed again, now so close, yet still so far away. "Mia?" The voice morphed, twisting into something darker, something familiar yet sinister. It rang with malice. "You can't save her." She spun around, eyes wide with horror. A figure emerged from the depths of shadows, a grotesque reflection, a mockery of herself, skin ashen and eyes glowing with diabolic intent. Mia felt a scream claw at her throat, but fear weighed down her voice. "Let her go! You can't keep her!" The figure grinned, a yawning chasm of darkness. "Join us, Mia. Embrace the void. It's what you came for." Desperately, Mia staggered back, her mind racing. She realized this wasn't just about saving Lily. It was a trap, an illusion born from her deepest fears. The pulsing shadows were calling, enticing her with promises of freedom. It would be so easy to slip away, to accept this dark offer and forget the pain. Mia shook her head violently, pushing against the creeping encroachment of despair. "No, I won't!" With a strength she didn't know she had, she charged forward, her heart pounding against the illusion. But as she lunged, the ground quaked, splitting open beneath her, an abyss yawning wide, hungry and relentless. "Mama!" One word broke through, piercing the veil of shadows, echoing with truth. It pulled her back. She reached out into the darkness, her fingers stretching, grasping for the light. Would she fall forever, or pull Lily back from the brink before it was too late? The sensation of falling gripped her again as the ground crumbled beneath her, the darkness beckoning. What if the shadows were right? What if surrendering was the only way to save them both? A deafening roar filled the air as Mia felt herself being yanked back. But where was it pulling her? In the blink of an eye, everything exploded into darkness. Had she gone deeper into despair? Or was there hope yet? As Mia crumpled into the depths, she couldn't shake the creeping dread. Was this the end, or merely the beginning of something far more sinister waiting to unfold? Coldness wrapped around Mia, a tight grip that stole the breath from her lungs. She gasped, struggling to embrace the fullness of her reality as her surroundings began to reform. The darkness parted slightly, revealing a misty landscape that felt heavy underfoot, like walking on wet stone. Similar shadows crouched nearby, twisted figures flickering in and out of view. Their presence felt rather than seen, menacing, primal. "Mama!" The call was distant again, but this time carried an urgency that sent shivers down Mia's spine. The voice echoed from all directions, teasing and tormented. Desperation pressed against her chest as she searched frantically, the pulse of dread drumming louder with every heartbeat. She stumbled forward, breath hitching in her throat, haunted by the ghost of Lily's voice. The ground trembled beneath her with what felt like anticipation, eager to swallow her whole. In the far distance, a flicker of light beckoned, its dull glow a stark contrast to the surrounding abyss. Mia pressed on, sweat beading at her temples. Flashes of distorted faces twisted in agony peeked through the shadows. Moments ripped from nightmares crawling into her consciousness. Desperation entwined with disbelief, the feeling of being lost and out of control. Was this what the void wanted? To show her a tapestry of her own fears seeping into flesh? "Lily!" she shouted, her voice swallowed by the murky air. The dense fog pinched around her throat, stifling. Every step grew heavier. She could taste the rotten air, a rancid bitterness mixing with the panic rising within her. "Mama!" The voice wailed again, but it was different, more pleading with a spine-chilling clarity. As she came closer, Mia looked desperately around, envisioning a path to her child amid the suffocating shadows. The lights ahead crackled violently, shadows flickering and shaping into forms that twisted just beyond her grasp, whispering secrets filled with foreboding. "What do you want?" she yelled, her voice breaking, and an answering silence settled like a blanket. And then, as if prompted by her own despair, the light pulsed. Mia hesitated. In that moment, the shadows warped, forming a swirling vortex around her, pulling her back with abandon. "Join us, Mia. Become one with the darkness." Their voices merged into a single haunting harmony, echoing her strongest fears. Her motherly instinct surged, igniting a fire within. Firmly, Mia shook her head, letting the anger swell to something potent. "No, I will find her." With a renewed rush of adrenaline, she lunged toward the flickering hope, clawing through the night's grasp. But as she reached the void's edge, the ground beneath her cracked, and figures lunged from the shadows, hands reaching and grasping, each touch like ice on her skin. "Mama!" The call intensified, a desperate plea that lashed against her heart. Instinct screamed, and Mia vaulted over the abyss, heart racing as she sailed through the oppressive darkness. The shadows howled, rage erupting from the depths. Would she reach her daughter in time, or were they both destined to be consumed by the void? As she plummeted into the swirling dark, light flickered at the edges of her vision. An apparition emerged, a twisted image of herself, eyes sharp and piercing. "We already took your daughter. Join us," it hissed, a wicked grin stretching across its face, revealing sharp teeth glistening like knives. "No!" Mia shrieked, determination roaring inside her. The question hung in the air, thick and rotten. Where was Lily, and what price would she have to pay to save her? The void faded to silence, leaving only the cold breath of secrets lingering in the air. Mia's heart raced as darkness wrapped around her like a shroud. This night was far from over. A deeper horror awaited. Would she break free or become part of the shadows that hungered for her soul? Mia's descent seemed endless, her hair whipping around her face like tendrils of shadow. Panic clawed at her chest, each heartbeat sending an electric jolt through her limbs. She opened her mouth to scream, but the sound was lost in the void, devoured before it could escape. The moment she landed, the ground beneath her shifted, a slick surface that felt gelatinous. She rolled onto her back and quickly scrambled to her feet, eyes darting around. The air was thick, almost viscous, compressing against her skin like a predator drawing its breath deep for the kill. And then she heard it again, Lily's voice, more desperate than before. "Mama, help!" It pierced through the fog, crystallizing the swirling mass of dread in her gut. "Mama, I'm here!" Mia called out, her own voice trembling uncertainly. She felt a surge of adrenaline, the kind that could either save or doom her. The light pulsated again, but it was larger now, more intense, casting jagged shadows that danced manically around her. With no logical direction to head toward, Mia followed the glowing aberration. Each step felt like a gamble, the dark pressing in closer with every movement. The mist writhed in response, whispering words in a language that made her skin crawl, promising things she felt deep down were better left unspoken. Then she saw them, faces emerging from the darkness, eyes hollow, mouths stretched in perpetual screams. They were trapped in a torment of their own making, their expressions twisting into something more grotesque as they locked their gaze on her. "Mia!" a voice echoed, swirling through the air like an ominous wind. "Join us! Don't you want to play?" The word play resonated with venom, and Mia recoiled, her instincts flaring, but fierce determination surged again. She would not become another lost soul. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted defiantly, assessing the figures as they flooded her vision, a sea of despairing limbs that beckoned her to surrender. But amidst the chaos, there was something different. A flicker of light raced across the ground, drawing her attention further to the pulsating orb. Strengthened by the hope of reaching Lily, she surged forward, pushing past the wailing shadows, the cries of the damned vibrating in her bones. "Come to me, Mama!" The voice was so close now, like a tangible thread that bound them, urging her on. The figures writhed angrily, their grasping hands clawing at Mia, grazing her flesh with cold terror. "Mama, come back!" They screeched in unison, and their voices sounded like a chorus of 1,000 lost children, echoing through her mind. "No!" Mia yelled, gritting her teeth as she broke free from their clutches. One determined leap pushed her closer to the light. Its warmth flooded over her, driving back the icy tendrils of darkness. As she crossed the threshold, the world around her shimmered momentarily like fragile glass. Mia felt an electric pulse surge through her. The light split the obsidian reality, and she could see them, a distorted reflection of herself and a small shadowy figure beneath her. It was Lily, trapped in a cage woven from nightmares. "Mama!" Lily cried, reaching out, her tiny hands barely brushing against the mesh of darkness that encased her. Panic surged as Mia understood. The shadows were trying to pull Lily deeper into the abyss, to strip her essence away. "Let her go!" Mia screamed, stepping forward. The darkness shrieked, buckling under her anger. Before she could act, something or someone grabbed her ankle, dragging her back toward the void. The pulsating light flickered, dimming as the weight of despair returned. "Help!" Lily's voice pierced through. But the shadows closed around Mia, pulling her down, deeper, into their hungry embrace. The light flickered out, providing one last fleeting glimpse of hope. Would she be able to save Lily before she became forever bound to the shadows? Or was this the true ending they both would face together? The shadows cascaded around Mia like a chilling wave, tugging at her limbs, whispering deceitful promises that tarnished the last threads of her sanity. She could feel the oppressive weight of despair settle deep into her bones, dragging her further into the murky abyss. Lily's cries echoed, tantalizingly close yet painfully out of reach, as if she were a siren drawing Mia into perilous depths. "Please, no!" Mia's heart thudded against her chest as she fought against the suffocating darkness, a flurry of panic coursing through her veins. She couldn't let these wretched creatures steal her daughter away. Her love burned brighter than any darkness they could conjure. "Mama!" The cry sliced through the chaos. The desperation etched in it was like a dagger to her heart. Consumed by determination, Mia willed herself to concentrate. Visions of Lily's laughter flashed in her mind, memories of sweet afternoons spent building forts, running through the park, and tender moments snuggled under blankets. In that moment, something ignited within her, fierce, unyielding love that no shadow could extinguish. "You will not! Take my daughter!" she howled, a battle cry, one that ricocheted off the walls of the nightmarish realm. Every ounce of anguish transformed into power, catapulting her forward as she barreled toward the encaged silhouette of her child. The cacophony of voices rose in fury, the shadows writhing, ripping, and tearing at her as she pushed against the currents of their malice. "Let her go!" She threw herself against the barrier, pounding on the dark mesh that held Lily captive, the force of her love amplifying her will to break through. The shadows hissed in response, recoiling as if burned, their voices merging into a dissonant shriek. "You cannot win! This place is ours!" But Mia was undeterred. Rallying herself, she gritted her teeth, lashing out with everything she had. Each impact against the darkness felt like a surge of sunlight breaking through a stormy sky. The barrier cracked and buckled with every strike, brightening in intensity with the warmth of her love. "Lily, hold on!" she yelled, her voice fierce and unwavering. "I'm coming!" A blinding light erupted from her heart, racing outward like a beacon of hope. "Mommy!" Lily's voice rang clear as the dark cage flared, the shadows screaming and swirling in every direction, their grip faltering, losing their hold. With one final fervent push, Mia broke through, the dark veil unraveling as beams of light burst forth, enveloping her and Lily in warmth. The darkness thrashed around them like a wounded beast, unwilling to relinquish what it deemed its prey. But it was too late. "Mama!" Lily leaped forward, and Mia caught her in an embrace so tight, so filled with love, that the detestable darkness shrieked in agony, evaporating like mist in the sunlight. The hold it had on them crumbled, the chains of nightmares falling away like ashes scattering in the wind. They stood there, clasped together, radiant light enveloping them, banishing the shadows that lingered at the edges of their consciousness. A feeling of safety wrapped around them like a warm blanket, dispelling the remnants of fear that had haunted them for too long. "I thought I lost you," Mia gasped, her heart brimming with love, relief filling her lungs as she pressed her forehead against Lily's. Tears flowing, she kissed the top of her daughter's head, soaking in the reality of their reunion. "I was scared, Mommy." Lily's small hand gripped hers tightly, the warmth igniting a fire in Mia's spirit. "They said I had to stay." "But you're free now," Mia assured, her voice tender yet fierce. "We'll never let them take you again, I promise." With that vow, they stepped forward, a powerful duo facing the remnants of darkness that scattered like leaves in a strong breeze. The air around them shimmered, the shadows retreating further as they climbed upward through the last vestiges of their nightmares. As they broke free into reality, crashing through the surface of their fears, both mother and daughter gasped, eyes wide open at the dawn of a new day, the morning sun glowing softly in the horizon. They stood on familiar ground, the park where laughter and joy had always blossomed. The shadows were pushed back, chased away by the light of love. As they looked into one another's eyes, their voices steady and sure, they vowed never to let the darkness encroach upon their lives again. "Together," they said in unison, arms wrapped tightly around each other. And with that, they turned toward the sky, lungs filled with the fragrant sweet air of a brighter world ahead. What they'd faced brought them closer, the bond of love a fierce shield against the lurking shadows, ensuring they would always stand together, now and forever. But as they walked away, ready to embrace the new beginning, a fleeting darkness lingered on the edges of the light, whispering promises of twisted webs yet to be spun. This story isn't over. The shadows are always lurking. Subscribe immediately so you don't miss our next exclusive tales of spine-chilling encounters. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this ending. I want to hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. End the like button, share the video, subscribe, and don't forget to fill the comments now for more action. Only fans will keep watching.